A certified Raw fan left a comment on our last video here at the Coffee Break Tennis Talk Show channel. This is from SLC2466. That was a long 2 weeks for a Nadal fan. Predictions of a certain victory as things progressed be damned. I was getting fitted for a straitjacket at the beginning of the 5th set during those 3 break points, but they now tell me in my secluded room, Rafa managed to revert back to beast mode just long enough to pull through. Never forget, Rafa could have been. We'll never know for sure, but he may very well have been this close to losing that match. Today on Coffee Break Tennis, we update you on what's going on with the tour. Where will we see our favorite friends, Rafa, Djoker, Federer, next? Number 1 is up in the air. We don't know if any of the big 3 really want it that bad. But of course, we're still very curious to see where they will turn up and play again. Also, in our stack of tennis news here, is Djokovic going to have another, what did he call it? Medical intervention? We'll take a look at the Laver Cup lineup. We've got tons of your comments in here and a bunch more. Who knows if we'll even have time to do all this good stuff today on Coffee Break Tennis. So the reason why I read that comment was because, one, it's funny for me because only when Federer is this close to winning or losing a major do I feel like that. I'll never be as invested in Rafa and Djokovic the way I am with a Federer match. So it's interesting for me to hear that perspective from a big Raw fan. But also because I wanted to highlight how close these guys come to winning and not winning. We'll never forget Roger Federer's 2009 French Open win, where he was this close. I believe he had an inside-out forehand that caught this much line on match point down to Tommy Haas. What was that? Maybe the quarterfinals. I can't remember how far along in the tournament. But the point was, if he loses there, he never wins a French Open. Never wins a French Open, unless he's going to win it in 2020. Not going to happen. Anyway, so there was this clip I heard on Tennis Channel of Paul Annacone talking about something he heard Federer say that kind of deals with luck in tennis, not just with when you hit a ball that's this close to in or out, but also with the body. And now that all 3 of these big 3 guys are in their 30s, the body holding up is the most important thing of all. So take a listen to what Paul Annacone had to say on the Tennis Channel. I thought this was pretty interesting.
Really stark disappointments, Paul, in 2010 and 2011 when he had match points in the semis.
Yeah, I was sitting in the stands and saw both of those match points in 2010 and 11. And boy, Novak did a great job there, did it again at Wimbledon this year. And one of the things that's amazing about Roger, I remember talking to him after those matches, and he said, look, I can go through some of my majors that I won, and I can tell you a few things that happened. And I was fortunate enough to sit in the coach's box in 2012 when he won Wimbledon. Early on in that tournament, his back went out, and he was playing Julian Benneteau down 2 sets to love, and his back locked up on him. And for a day and a half, he was very compromised, hung around, found a way to keep playing, got healthy, and ended up winning the tournament. So he looks at good fortune and bad fortune and kind of has that nice all-encompassing view, take the good with the bad.
Remember that match, 2012 Wimbledon? Julian Benneteau, the big toe of France. In America, we have the big foe. In France, they have the big toe. So back then in 2012, when Federer's back goes out, in a couple days it can come back and he could still win a major. Nowadays, if he has trouble with the back, that one's pretty much over. You'll have to wait till the next tournament, the next major, to roll around. But this is a big factor for the big 3 now. Now it all comes down to how lucky do you get, and not just with the body and the injuries. You can afford to have injuries, but the timing. Ask Djokovic. He'd probably rather have that injury earlier in the year when he was losing at smaller tournaments early. Having it in the middle of the U.S. Open as defending champion is not ideal. So with that said, let's take a look at, there's more information spilling out now that the major is over and we hear more people go do interviews. Uncle Tony's been talking quite a lot. Take a listen to this one, tennisworldusa.org. The big cat, Luigi Gatto. In an interview to Copa, Rafa Nadal's coach, Carlos Moya. This is Moya, not Tony Nadal, but we do have Tony Nadal stuff in here, but I don't know if we'll get to it all. I got to get to the tennis courts in not too long. Moya admitted Nadal ended the match being extremely tired. The match was very, very long. We were dead tired and we did not celebrate that much. It was so hard. In the locker room, Carlos Moya says here, I had to help him taking on the jeans. Bad Spanish to English translation there. I had to help him put on his jeans because he was cramping so bad. It was unbelievable moments physically and emotionally. It was one more major, the 19th, said Moya. Then he goes on to compare it to other victories and how special they are and trying to rank them and so on and so forth. There's no question Rafa had to throw everything he had at Medvedev to finish that win. It looked like he had it no problem. Then Medvedev took it to a new level, started playing a little smarter with some of his shot making. We talked about that in the last video. No need to get into all that stuff. But Rafa was able to give it everything he had to the point where he could barely he couldn't put pants on without help after the match was over in the locker room. Tells you a lot about Rafa. All right, so moving on to Novak Djokovic. So, one more thing on Rafa. Let me skip ahead in here. Rafa Nadal unsure about playing in Shanghai. Translation, he's not playing. In fact, listen to this one first. Rafa Nadal to play the Laver Cup, then he has the wedding. This is all from Tennis World USA. Printed a lot of those off today. In an interview to Copa, it's the same thing. Same interview. You know how the tennis media works. You have one interview with one player. He says a bunch of things. You take one thing, you make an article here. You take another thing, you make an article there. Here at Coffee Break Tennis, you get all the things in one spot. That's why this show, Coffee Break Tennis, not only the fastest growing tennis talk show in the world, simply the best way to consume tennis information, without a doubt. Or so I've been told. In an interview to Copa, Carlos Moya said another thing. This is all from Luigi Gatto's tennisworld.usa. The next commitment is the Laver Cup. Okay, so Rafa's going to play the Laver Cup. That's only a week away. I believe it starts 1 week from today. Then he has the wedding. Winning a Grand Slam singles changes things, and we'll have to speak about it later this week. Then he goes on to say that the team will get together, Rafa and his many, many coaches, and they'll discuss the plan. But the headline of this is Rafa Nadal to play. The next headline, it's same place, tennisworldusa.org. Rafa Nadal unsure about playing in Shanghai. He ain't playing, I don't think. This is Luigi Gatto again, but this is Nadal doing an interview after the U.S. Open in España to the Spanish media Manacor on Tuesday. He may skip the Rolex Shanghai Masters, saying, "It is difficult to speak about it. This year, I only played 9 tournaments, and I do not know how many I will have played once I end the year." Nadal continues, "I am reducing my schedule also thanks to the results I'm getting," which is true. When you win 2,000 points here and 2,000 points there, you can cut some stuff from the schedule and still be okay. After the match, I went straight forward to the airplane, says Rafa. I did not have time to speak with my team. I have to wait for a few more days to see how my body evolves. My immediate schedule, play the Laver Cup. Then, I do not know. I should speak with the team. Same thing we heard from Moya. Rafa and his many coaches get together, but here's the money line. This is what tells me he ain't playing Shanghai. It's clear that the ATP finals in Paris-Bercy are on the calendar. Asia, up in the air. So, there you go. Pretty sure Rafa plays 2. Which means Rafa can pick up enough points to get number 1 ranking and put it out of reach of the Djoker. I do believe there is no mathematical way forwards if Rafa to win those 2 tournaments. Will he win those 2 tournaments? I don't know. So what is the Djokovic doing? Well, the Djoker has been oddly very silent. Djoker tweeting out, this is from tennishead.net, some kind of tennis magazine on the internet. Novak Djokovic quells surgery rumors as he targets the Asian swing. Sorry for keeping you and the guys in the dark these days, says Djoker. I'm having a wonderful time with my family and actively working on my recovery so I can be ready for the Asian swing. My health is always top priority, and as soon as I'm ready, I'll be back. I'll keep you posted on my progress. Thank you for your wishes for a fast recovery. But, as they noted in this article, reports this week in the New York Times claim that the world number 1 may actually call time on his season and undergo a shoulder surgery, not playing at all. Ooh. Let's look at another one. Here's another article, Tennis 365. Injured Novak Djokovic still hopeful he will be ready. And they show that same tweet that I just read to you. That's going to be in every article on Djokovic because that's all Djokovic has really put out there officially, which tells you he tends to be more quiet when more is wrong. There may not be any more Djokovic this year. His return could be the Australian Open for all we know. Djokovic is yet to confirm if he will compete at all in the Asian swing, but says he is actively working on recovery. World number 1 was troubled by shoulder injury against Stan Wawrinka at the U.S. Open, blah, 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 blah. After the match, he revealed the pain was consistent for weeks. Djokovic initially penciled in the Japan Open, which starts September 30th, as the start of his Asian swing, but now there's big question marks over that. He says he'll be back when he is ready. He's hopeful it will be there. Then they read the tweet. One final article from Luigi Gatto, tennisworldusa.org. Novak Djokovic may undergo a minor surgery. The Serb's left shoulder injury is more complicated than expected, according to the New York Times. The Serbian player may take more time to recover than he had planned to, and he may undergo a minor surgery in Schweiz, Switzerland, for the second time after 2018, when he had surgery on February to solve the elbow issues. So a lot of mystery going on with Djokovic. If you had to put money down on it for now, you would almost want to say that he ain't going to play for the rest of the year. And to be totally fair, not a lot of news out there about what's going on with Roger Federer and his back. But if it really is something that happened in his sleep, which I'm sure if you're watching, you've gone through this. Everyone's done this where you wake up and the neck is really stiff. I've had it happen before where it lasts about 2 days. And it's pretty tough to play tennis comfortably for a couple days. And then it just goes away. So hopefully for the Fed fans, that's all it is. But I do have one interesting piece of news here from Roger Federer's world. Roger Federer reportedly watched this year's U.S. Open final between Rafa and Medvedev, according to L'Equipe. The Basel native was staying up at 2 a.m. at his house in Switzerland with his wife Mirka and their 4 children, watching Rafa's match, with his fingers crossed, just like mine were, saying, "Please lose, don't come back. Medvedev, you can do it. We're a big fan. We love you." A couple things, and then we'll get out of here. And, of course, we have some... I'm going to save this. I think what I might start doing is when I have all this extra stuff that I don't have time to get to, we'll just start doing it on overtime show. I'll do a podcast at night, and it'll be just for the patron saints. Speaking of patron saints, take a look at this. Damien is now legit, official CBT patron saint. Thank you for Damien J. Byrne, who it's a big help. Every time someone joins, patreon.com/coffeebreaktennis. Check it out now. Not only do you get access to bonus shows, extra shows, special shows, whatever you want to call it, but you keep this show going. And Damien, for a long time, has helped the show just by giving me great info, sending me articles and interesting things he finds from the tennis world. Who could forget when he happened to be sitting in a restaurant next to, was it Nadal and Federer and a few other top players, and he sent me a little clip of video from that. Top spy, Damien. Now a legit patron saint of Coffee Break Tennis on the Patreon. So thank you to Damien, and thank you to everyone who's a patron saint. We got like 60-something of you now, keeping this show going and growing. Just took a quick look at the time. We are running out of it. All right, 2 quick stories, then some comments, and we'll be gone. Roger Federer will delay retirement to stop Rafa Nadal, says, you guessed it, well, you probably didn't guess it, Mats Wilander, everyone's least favorite former world number 1. Former world number 1 Mats Wilander thinks Rafa Nadal's recent resurgence will motivate Roger Federer to prolong his career. I'm excited about the next 2 or 3 years, said Wilander on Eurosport. Federer will try to stop Nadal. It will encourage the Swiss to play for at least 2 more years. Now, I think Federer was going to try to do this either way, but Wilander might have a point here, and that Federer will have a little extra motivation to stick around and see what he can do. I'm sure that he believes, and the team believes, that they can win 1 more. AO and Wimbledon. That's their top priorities. It's got to be fastest court speeds. They added this here. This is something Federer said earlier in the tournament. Federer is expected to try to make it to the Tokyo Olympics at least in 2020 and spoke positively about the possibility of playing when he was 40. A few years ago, I wouldn't have thought that could be possible. I see it as a privilege to feel like for a longer period of time I haven't had any major setbacks since I felt my back in Montreal against Sasha. I had a few little things, but nothing career-threatening. If I feel like that, I can play more freely, concentrate on my tactics, and enjoy my days off much more, said Roger Federer. Absolutely. I think Roger Federer could do it. One of the few guys who's going to have a chance. Is he going to win a major at 40? I don't think so. I think next year could be his last year to have a shot. I'd give him 2021. He still has a chance, but Federer needs to do it next year because just imagine 2 years from now at the U.S. Open, it's going to be a lot older. It's going to be pretty tough. All right, and one more thing here about Rafa. Now, I'm all hyped up on Rafa too. I get it. He looks awesome right now. He now has more U.S. Open titles than Djokovic. Just think about that for a guy who's a clay court specialist only, and Djokovic, the greatest hard court player of all time. Well, Roger and Rafa have won the U.S. Open more than the Djoker. Never forget that. Record win percentages against top 10 players during the 4 majors. Sampras, 72.5%, 29 and 11. Very high number. Nadal, 71%. Federer and Djokovic drop way off to 65 for Federer and 64 for Djoker. Edberg at 54, Safin 54, Agassi at 52. One little problem here. And this was my suspicion when I saw this right away. How many times have we seen Rafa with a pretty easy draw at a major where he didn't have to play any top 10 players? Or, and you know, I haven't done the full research to flesh out this theory, but I have a strong feeling, just a little hint, that, well, look at the numbers here. Sampras 29-11, Nadal 47-19. That's very good. Federer 64-34. He's almost played 100 top 10 opponents and won 65% of the time. Djokovic 50-27. 77 top 10 opponents faced at majors. With Rafa, only 66, 47-19. Whereas Federer is almost at 100. So you could say maybe Rafa, and I've heard it before. People always say, Rafa, it's rigged. Rafa gets cupcake draws. It's not rigged, but it's good luck. And a lot of people have thought that was true. Now we kind of have a little proof. I would love to take the time to go through the breakdown and look at every opponent and kind of feel out, was that really a good draw? Was that a tough draw? And Rafa was great, or Federer was great, or Djokovic was great. But bottom line is Rafa, 66 occasions playing top 10 players at majors, winning 71%. Roger, 98, winning 65%. Djokovic, 77, winning 64%. So, hate to sound Fed biased here, but if I had to pick one of the three, I'd go with Federer, because who knows if Rafa can keep that pace up going all the way to 100. You know, he's at 66, a little more than half of the way there. Federer, pretty close to 198 matches, and he's still winning a number that's pretty close to Rafa there at 65%. I mean, we're going to take that number. And one more thing to add to that, which top 10 players? How many times has Federer, Federer all years had bad luck. If he wanted to win the Aussie, let's say he beat Stefanos Tsitsipas, he would have played Rafa in the semis, then he would have played Djoker in the final. French Open, Rafa, then Dominic Thiem, or Djoker if Djoker had won. Wimbledon, Rafa, he beats him, almost beats Djokovic. U.S. Open, he would have played Djokovic without the left shoulder injury. You know, he did draw Djokovic in the semis and Rafa in the final. How many times has Roger Federer had to go through both of them, or had to play Djokovic at the semis at the U.S. Open when Djokovic was playing some of his best tennis? So I would love to see who are these top 10 players. Anyways, I'll keep that one because I might actually, that's how big of a tennis nerd I am. I might go through that. All right, a couple comments and we'll get out of here. Ollie Payton, I'm just going to say this now. Ollie's a big Raw fan and a very special part of CBT. He's done a lot to help us out over the years with tweeting me great information, articles, graphics, stats, just like Damien. Ollie says, I'm just going to say this now. I think Rafa passes Federer if he's healthy. Incredible now that he's 2,000 points ahead of Novak in the race. That is incredible. If he does well in Paris in the World Tour Finals, WTF, he has a great chance to get a fifth year in number one, same as Novak and Roger, which is important. If Rafa can pull that off, which he might have a lot of help with Djokovic dropping points if he doesn't play, that's going to help in the GOAT debate. Let's say they all end up tied with the same number. Let's say they all have 21 majors at the end of it. Rafa having the same number at year-end number ones with them, that would help. And Rafa having a winning head-to-head, that can help. All that stuff factors in, of course. If someone has more majors, though, I don't think we look at that stuff anymore. Then it's just one thing matters. That's what I think. A friend of mine I was playing tennis with the other day, take a look at him. Here's Wild Man Phil. He convinced me to grill hamburgers or brats and cheeseburglars at the tennis courts at 10 p.m., which I did it because I needed the practice. He said to me, if Rafa passes Federer's record, that's it. He's the greatest. There is no debating it. And he loves to play tennis, but he doesn't watch a ton of tennis. He's not the biggest tennis fan in the world. That's how everyone's going to look at it, the majority of people. So it's all about that number. Sam Walker. Cilic won a major in the last 10 years, I think, although he seems off form. Yeah, in the last video I said, for the last 10 years, there's only been, other than the big three, and then I named a handful of people like Wawrinka and Murray and one Martin Del Potro. And I left out Marin Cilic. I had in my show notes, it was written on there. For some reason, I didn't think about it. Maybe he's very forgettable. Just kidding. No offense to Marin Cilic. 3 major finals in the era of the big three. That's a huge accomplishment. Carol Morris called it on Medvedev. Matt, I was the crazy tennis fan who posted on one of your shows about 5 months ago that the skinny BS Russian, I said BS, not her, Russian Medvedev and Rublev look dangerous. I'm no tennis pro or analyst, but a 58-year-old woman who has watched and played tennis occasionally. The media ignored me. The tennis channel ignored me. She must be a nutter was what they thought of my opinion. Guess I wasn't wrong after all. They both need some working on and putting on a bit more muscle on those bones, but for once, I think I was right. Congratulations to Rafa, and thank you and Danny Medvedev for the gobsmacking, brilliant, entertaining tennis. Greetings from South Africa. South Africa. Got to give her credit. I was the one saying Medvedev is a BS Russian and Tsitsipas is the real next gen. But now it looks like that can all change, though. It can all change quick. We will watch with eager anticipation. Tyron Lannister says, Tyron Mathurin said, AO is not the fastest. That is wrong. Put this on the screen. This is 2017. If I had newer data, this is the most reliable, most recent thing I could find. Take a look. Australian Open, court pace index, 42. Faster than US Open. Faster than all of them. LOL. The only reason why Matt considers the Aussie Open the faster hard court is because Nadal has less success there. I mean, isn't that more proof that it's faster? The faster the court is, the less success Nadal tends to have. That you can follow through. His whole career has applied. But if Nadal participates and wins the tournament next year, you're going to hear him say, the AO courts are slowing as we approach the 2021 season. Maybe he meant 2020? I'm not sure. Maybe he meant 2021. Here's one thing everyone should know. There's a new company doing the courts in Australia at all the tournaments. Their goal is to have all the tournaments in Australia play just like the Australian Open. I believe it is the same court that does the World Tour Finals courts and as well as Federer's hometown tournament in Basel. With a new company, it could change. They're saying the court speeds will be the same, a little bit faster. They like being a little bit faster. The major that's a little bit faster than everywhere else. That's what we've heard. Who knows how it's actually going to turn out? This new company, maybe they do a terrible job. Maybe they ruin the courts. So, yeah, I'm not going to talk about the court speed until I see the tournament because you never know. But my dear hope is that it stays faster. Mr. Ataguaz, I feel like Medvedev improved more during the U.S. Open final than Zverev did in a year. Yeah, maybe. Trevor Clausen, Rafa fan here, first and always. Love that he won his 19th, but we ought to be more like Rafa himself and take nothing for granted. Not even the French Open. Good point. As for Fed, he ain't done. Not by a long shot. He's going to kick some booty next year, and I hope he does. Tennis still needs him. Without the tripod of the big three supporting tennis, all the other storylines and subplots lose their luster. That's right. Like he says Kyrgios next. I don't even know what he says about it, but I'm going to tell you, Kyrgios, not so interesting if you don't have those wins over Rafa and the fact that we know Rafa kind of doesn't like Kyrgios. If we don't have him saying stuff about Djokovic, if we don't have the epic match with Federer at Miami to remind us, I mean, that's what built Kyrgios up in our eyes, is that he had these big clashes with the big three and won some of them. Kyrgios, for example, only has notoriety because he acts like an idiot, but has capabilities to challenge the triumvirate. Okay, basically what I said, so great point there. So this from a Rafa fan. I hope Fed makes the semis are better at every slam next year. I'm sick of people saying he's done. He ain't done. Mei Jiang. Danny walked over the net while Rafa lay on the floor, tired and happy. No one jumped over the net. Yeah, I said that I was tweeting, and I wasn't sure how they got over the net and hugged each other and told their anti-Federer jokes. I said maybe one of them jumped over the net. May, clarifying for everyone. And finally, Define Crazy. That's the name. I did not like this channel before, but lately, this guy has been awesome and covered tennis in the best way possible. Keep it up. Thank you, Define Crazy. Good to know that we're moving on up here at the Coffee Break Tennis. Thanks for watching the show today. We are getting out of here. Be sure to tune in Monday night. We will have a show up no later than midnight on Monday. I'll go for an 11 p.m. Time, so be sure to check us out Monday, 11 p.m. East Coast time. And if you don't see us, just know that we'll be up by midnight at the very latest. Next week's schedule, I am not sure. I'm thinking about doing Laver Cup exclusively only for the patron saints. Maybe that's a crazy idea. Comment below what you think about that. I'm considering it. Maybe I'll do one video for everyone at the start of Laver Cup, and then all of the remaining Laver Cup coverage will be patron saints only. Comment below what you think about that. See ya!